when I was choosing at the time my A-levels, I felt that if I could do science, I should do science. So my message simply would be, if you can do it, do it.
How has the digital revolution shaped journalism and news reporting?
Well, Megan, that's a really important question, because since I started off at Sky News in 2000, during that first decade, we didn't really have social media at our fingertips. And it really only came into play in the decade after, when I'd moved to Abu Dhabi and then back to London, then Luxembourg. And it's changed everything. So now most people get their news on this. People scroll, they want fast news. They get it in such a variety of ways. There's 24-hour news, of course, that hasn't changed. So it's like, as some people say, some people in the political world, they say, we have to constantly feed the beast. So I think people have to be really careful about get their news from. Is it a trusted source? I've got 2 teenage daughters, and I worry about what they can absorb on social media, because what is it that they're reading? Is it real? Is it true? Is it a trend? And so the nature of news, it's become very fast. It's very piecemeal. The good thing is it's quite egalitarian in that we have a lot of citizen journalism. So if something happens in Kiev at the moment, or Ukraine, or certain parts of, the eastern part of Ukraine, you can have people literally there on their mobile. We've seen it on all sorts of social media telling the story. So it becomes much more immersive, and everybody has a voice, but not everybody has an honest voice, and not everybody has a trained, impartial voice. So I think as consumers, we have to be very careful. As producers, you have to be careful, because whatever you put out there in the digital sphere can stay there a very long time, if not forever. So we have to be very cautious in all sorts of ways.
What inspired you to launch RTL Today, which is now the #1 portal for news in Luxembourg?
Well, I moved to Luxembourg in September 2015. Because my ex-husband got work here. And when I came here, it was very bizarre. It's an incredibly multilingual place. So Luxembourg people have to, by schooling, speak 3 languages as their native mother tongue, which is Luxembourgish, German, and French. And when I came here, there was an increasing number of English speakers, because you've got people from all over the world and lots of relationships and everything, where they use English as the tool of communication between them. Lots of Eastern Europeans, lots of people from the Middle East, India, subcontinent, they all use English as their kind of communal language. But for us to get our information, it was really piecemeal. So we would have, again, weirdly, a lot of information on various Facebook groups, and there was certain sorts of news outlets in English, but there was nothing connected. And coming from like a decade at Sky News, I thought, well, this doesn't make any sense. So I went to RTL, which stands for Radio Television Luxembourg. And at the time I had a business with another lady, and I said, have you thought about doing anything in English? And we just hit them at the right time, and they said, yes, we realize we have to do something. So with really the tiniest budget, but a lot of belief and a lot of trust in us, we were given, they said, go ahead and create it. But it took months of kind of find people, and it's very hard to find the people to do the work when you can't pay them a lot. There's nothing for them to see, and it's kind of just on chance that they think they're going to add to something better in the future. But now we have a great team. It's shown its worth over and over again. And during COVID, and also we were hit by really bad floods here, the ones you probably saw in the news with Germany next door and everything. When there's really big news, we are the only place you can go for rolling news, where you can get updates, and people wrote to say thank you for this service, because we were providing a service where they could get information, and that's so important.
What message do you have for women hoping to pursue a career in STEM?
Oh, well, that's really important. And oh gosh, lots of things here. Well, when I was choosing at the time my A-levels, I felt that if I could do science, I should do science. So my message simply would be, if you can do it, do it. Because most other subjects, languages perhaps, the art subjects perhaps, you can take up most other subjects later in life. It's not easy, but you can. But with sciences, and particularly the mathematical physics brain, that actually is really at a peak in the early 20s, apparently. And a lot of the, Einstein did his best work in those years, I believe. I mean, I'd have to check my facts on that, but I remember my physics teacher, Lord have mercy on him, he said that the science and maths brain, they're kind of good in the early years, and then later in life you become a better teacher, but you become quite creative in your early years. So it's just, you will probably never opt to do science later in life. But you could opt to learn the piano, or opt to do an English degree or a humanities degree in a more simple way. I'm not denigrating those subjects at all, but science is hard to take up later. And for me, it feeds into every part of my life. It really feeds into my journalism, because it gives me a logical way of thinking. It gives me I use it all the time when I have information. You will use it in your work. You get all of this information, you have to sieve it down and try to relay the main facts to your audience, whoever they are. So I feel that it's just really helped me. But I did leave, because I did have the chance to do a PhD and everything. And I gave up on that chance to work at Sky News. And for a very long time, I felt huge guilt about not continuing with STEM. But now I feel very lucky that I do a lot of the space events here in Luxembourg and the science events. So I feel really, in great collaboration with the space and science establishments here in Luxembourg. And I get to meet loads of different people. I recently did some podcasts on biobanking, and I get a real breadth. I love the variety I get, and I still write children's science books. So I still feed back. But to your question, my main message would be a bit like Nike: if you can do it, do it.
What is your top tip for effective communication in business?
Well, in business, right. Well, actually, I think for effective communication at all, the main thing is to be clear, to believe in your message. And if you believe in your message, you are authentic, and you have to be honest. I think if you're not honest about your message, it's just so apparent. You can work on things like presence, intonation, volume of speech and all of that, but the core of anything is to be authentic and to just have a message that you actually believe in, because otherwise it will never work.
Fantastic.
I mean, I can go on, I can say a lot more. And I do train people, and when I train people, actually, I always work with them one-on-one, because everybody's different. And it's really bespoke to who you are, where you've come from, and what your own idiosyncrasies are. And in fact, at Sky News, I had this wonderful boss who he liked the fact that we were all different. And at that time, perhaps the BBC, everybody was a little bit more similar. They've changed that now, but he very much liked us all to be our own character, and he never tried to influence our style. And he had a very unique style. And the other thing he taught us was the power of the pause, which is when you pause, people actually listen to you. And he said, when I stop talking, that's when people start listening. So the power of the pause as well.